Hi, my name is Ivy. I'm the social worker at this agency. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. I appreciate you coming to talk to me. So, before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that everything you share with me is completely confidential. The only exception to that is if you share that you have a plan to hurt yourself or hurt somebody else. And even then, I could only tell people who are directly concerned with it. Is that okay with you?
That sounds good to me.
All right. Why don't we get started? So, what brings you here?
The court is making me come here.
Why
They
is that?
they say I have a some type of drinking problem, but I'm not convinced that I do.
Okay. Why do you think they think that?
They sent me here because I got a ticket for driving under the influence,
Mhm.
but I only had like one or two drinks when I was driving home. Um, but they said I've done that one too many times, so it's time for me to go and get help with the problem.
Okay, I completely understand. It's kind of frustrating sometimes when people think you have a problem and you're not so sure about it.
Yeah, I don't think I have a problem at all. I don't know
Okay.
what this judge is thinking.
All right. So you mentioned that you might have had some other incidents with this. Can you kind of describe what those were like?
Uh, yeah, there was one time my wife works third shift. So I had to, the kids were crying because they didn't have any milk for the bottles or whatnot. And I had one or two beers, just one or two, not that big of a deal.
Mhm.
Couldn't get a hold of anybody, to watch the kids or bring me any milk. So I just loaded them up in the car and went to the store. And then one of the cashiers said they smelled alcohol in my breath when I was at the register and called the police. So that was one time. Um, and there's been a few other times, like they act like I want to put my kids in danger, but that's not necessarily going to happen. I would never do anything to hurt my kids.
Mhm. So they think that by drinking and letting your kids ride with you, you are putting them in danger.
Yeah, that's what my wife thinks. She's left the house. She's taken the kids and just threatened not to let me see the kids anymore until I get the help that the judge keeps talking about. And it's just really annoying, is what it is.
Yeah, I
Everything's
completely
out of
understand.
proportion.
Okay. Have you always had a problem with drinking?
No, I'm not. I wouldn't. Again, I don't think I would necessarily say that I have a problem. It's just, I mean, I go out with friends on occasion. It's my dad drink, my granddad drink. Um, Shoots half the time the three of us. We when I was younger, we would drink together on occasion and just sit around the house. But I mean, it's not that big of a deal. It's just maybe one, two, three beers, and that's it.
Hmm. So drinking is kind of what there's a social aspect to it that you enjoy, and it's also a matter of kind of helping control the stress in life, like with your kids and with your wife being gone on third shift.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Can you kind of see any maybe bad parts, like a downside to that?
Well, obviously, I'm having to get this ticket, and
Oh.
if I don't get the ticket, if I don't pay the ticket or come here to resolve a ticket with you, and you magically make this ticket go away, then I might have to face jail time, and then I definitely won't see my kids then.
Hmm. So if you kind of keep going down this path, you think it'll just get worse and worse and worse.
I mean, that's what everybody around me thinks. I just don't see what the big deal is. I think it's frustrating that I can't see my kids because I drank a beer or two.
Hmm. I understand that that's frustrating. That must be very difficult for you.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy.
Hmm. So it kind of seems like the court, you're just here because the court's making you come. But do you think there's a way we can make this meaningful for you if you have to be here?
I mean, I don't want my kids to be not be able to see my kids or them be taken away or them think that I'm an alcoholic.
Hmm. So you're kind of worried about what your kids might think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want them growing up thinking, oh well, dad's not around because he was an alcoholic. So yeah,
Hmm. So you think it might be something you could consider thinking about changing for your kids?
yeah. I mean, I'll do anything for my kids. Anything. I mean, I would give them the whole world if they wanted it.
Okay. And what do you think, as that relates to drinking, what do you think giving them the world means?
I mean, obviously, I should probably slow down on the drinking if it's going to cost me any type of relationship with my kids. I don't want to. I don't want alcohol's not that important to where I can't see my kids. They mean the world to me.
So it's not important enough where you'd sacrifice for relationships with it for them.
No, never. Like my kids are my number one. Um,
Mhm.
number one. But I mean, it's hard sometimes when I'm like out to dinner with friends, and because I mean, I've not drank several times before, um, but it's difficult sometimes, when I have to go out with friends for dinner for a guys' night, and they call you different names and joke around with you to help you to get you a beer or two in you.
Mhm. So that'd be something that kind of stood in your way to it. You'd miss the social aspect.
Yeah, yeah. Because that's all my friends do. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them. That's all they do. They drink all the time. We get together at least once, maybe twice a week, depending on the week. But once a week, we'll get together like on the weekends and have us a guys' night and meet at Applebee's or something like that, and sit at the bar and hang out and just relax, debrief work, and throw back a couple of Miller Lights.
Hmm. That's really tough when you think about if everyone else is able to do it, why can't you do it?
Yeah, I mean that makes perfect sense to me, and I don't get it. I mean, they drink and drive, they have kids, their wives aren't taking their kids away. The judge isn't giving them any tickets and making them come to this agency to sit here and talk to anyone.
Right. So no one else that you come into contact with is having any problems with their drinking. So why should you be singled out?
Right? Yeah, I don't get it.
So have you always drank? You mentioned with your father and grandfather.
I mean, I started probably when I was 16.
Mhm.
Again, we would just grew up on the farm, and anytime we did anything out in the fields and whatnot, we'd end the day, with a beer or two on the back of my dad and granddad's truck. Um, and then, of course, granddad, when he passed away, me and dad still got together on occasion and whatnot. Dad doesn't drink too much anymore because he's in the nursing home, and the nurses won't let him have any alcohol in there.
Right.
But, uh, but yeah, I mean, 16 and until now. So,
Okay. So on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being you love your life, you don't want to change anything about it, and 10 being you're ready to dump the alcohol down the sink today, where do you think you are on that scale?
with 10 being alcohol going down the sink,
Hmm.
uh, I'd probably say a 7 or an 8.
Okay. What would have to happen for you to get to a 10, you think?
Oh man. I don't know. I mean, I say a 7 or an 8 because I mean, I definitely want to give it up for my kids. I'd be willing to do that. Like if it came down to it, and I flat out knew my wife's like, okay, you're not seeing the kids anymore if you keep drinking, then um, I would definitely be at a 10. But at the same time, it's 7 or 8 because I sometimes think she's bluffing, and I just like hanging out with my friends. But probably the kids with the 100%, if they were going to be gone, I'd be pouring every bottle of beer down the sink.
Right. So your kids are your biggest motivating factor.
Yeah, I mean, of course, my wife too. I don't want her to go anywhere. I love her too, but my kids are my number one.
Hmm. So what would you be willing to try? You mentioned
Oh,
slowing down earlier. What would that look like for you?
I don't know. Nobody's really never ever asked me that question before. I don't know what it would be like. I mean, the judge said I had to come here and get help, whatever that means. I don't know what type of
Mhm.
help you all offer.
What would help you?
Mm, I don't mean. I feel like I could quit anytime that I want. I mean, I have before.
What did that look like when you quit before?
It was real boring, real boring.
Hmm.
My friends, but I got uninvited to some guys' nights a couple times because I wasn't fun because I wasn't drinking with them, and it was just real. It was boring.
Hmm.
I mean, it was fine. I mean, I just hung out at the house and watched TV, but it was just that was it. I worked and came home, watched TV.
So, on one hand, you recognize that drinking has some really real consequences, like with your ticket, with your kids, with your wife being alienated. But on the other hand, you're also sacrificing something that you don't necessarily want to get away from, like hanging out with your friends.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Thank you for understanding and getting it. You get it. You get it.
Right, that's great. So, what do you think we can kind of work on in here? Maybe we could work on cutting down, or maybe not stopping completely if we're not there yet. What do you think?
I mean, honestly, it probably wouldn't hurt to cut drinking. I mean, completely because um, my doctor said that I've gained a lot of weight because of my alcohol consumption.
Hmm.
I mean, again, my kids are my number one. I don't want them to grow up, thinking bad of me, or I don't want them to be made fun of in school once they get school age, thinking, saying, "Oh, well, your dad's an alcoholic," and whatnot. So, I mean, I don't want life to be difficult for them. So, I mean, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to stop drinking completely, I guess.
Hmm. So, you think you could stop drinking completely?
Yeah, I mean, I've done it before, several times. It's just life got boring, and
Hmm.
that's when I started drinking again. And I'd just get bored because I couldn't. My friends didn't want to hang out as much, and
Hmm.
it's a social thing for me for the most part. Like we said before.
So, say you are able to quit drinking, and we're looking maybe 3 years down the road. What do you think your life would look like?
Oh, definitely not hanging out at Applebee's with my friends. I don't know. The only thing I know is what I've done before, and that's just sitting on TV and sitting in front of the TV at home and just kind of being bored. But the kids will probably be older, so maybe I can do stuff like coach little league or whatever kids play these days.
Hmm. So, there's some positive aspects to that too that you're able to identify. I
Yeah,
think it's really important that you have your priorities kind of set out.
yeah, yeah. I mean, my kids are always number one. I do anything and everything for
Hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, I really appreciate you coming to talk to me today. And if you're interested, maybe you could come back next week and we could talk about it more then.
Yeah, that sounds real good.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.